I'm Wyatt Sharpe reporting for the News Forum here in Ottawa, where we had the distinct pleasure to sit down with former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett to ask him about some of the most pressing issues as it relates to the ongoing war in Israel and Gaza. Here is that interview. I'm Wyatt Sharpe reporting for the News Forum here now with former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for letting me be here.
Of course. So, I suppose I just want to start out. Obviously, I'm a 15-year-old reporter. What is your message to my generation as it relates to the state of affairs in Israel and Gaza right now?
Well, there's a war right now between an evil force of radical Islamic terror that wants to kill pretty much all of us being infidels, that we're non-Muslim believers. And these terrorists, and it's not all Muslims, it's these terrorists want to murder the entire country of Israel and wipe it off the earth and all the Jews just because we're not Muslims. And they initiated a horrible attack a few months ago where they raped Israeli women, they burnt families, they burnt babies, 1,200 of them. And we are now fighting back in order to eliminate this organization from the face of Earth and make the world a much better place.
And what do you say to people who say that there is a moral equivalency, so to speak, between what Hamas did on October the 7th and then the response that Israel has initiated?
Well, it's quite the opposite. They attacked us deliberately in order to kill civilians and women and children. We're fighting back, and we're targeting the terrorists. And yes, in all wars, also innocent people die when you target the combatants. And Hamas has a special method where they deliberately fight from within innocent people or civilians in order to increase the number of Gazans who die. But in fact, the idea of the Israeli military is doing this as cautiously as possible. There have been 14,000 terrorists that we killed and 19,000 civilians, which is a ratio of terrorist to civilian of about 1.3, which is probably the lowest ratio in urban warfare history, which is generally one terrorist or one combatant for every 9 dead civilians. But it's still every dead person is every lost life is a tragedy.
And obviously you're visiting Canada right now. A country like Canada, which is in many ways in a position to help, what should Canada be doing to help provide the support to the Israeli people?
First of all, step up and stand up behind the truth and behind what's right, and that's standing with Israel. Say, we understand that Israel is fighting very radical and dark forces of terror. We stand behind you, we'll support you. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. And I think sometimes people don't have a clear enough way of defining right and wrong. But it's important to be courageous and stand up and say, I'm with Israel.
And what do you see? Obviously, geopolitics in the Middle East has always been very complicated. So what do you see as perhaps Israel's biggest challenge as we, hopefully are able to look soon towards the end of this conflict?
Yeah. Well, Israel wants to live in peace in the Middle East. And we're building bridges to other countries, Egypt, Jordan, the Emirates, Bahrain, hopefully soon Saudi Arabia. But there's one major arch enemy that is the source of almost all the terror in the Middle East, and that's the Islamic Republic of Iran. And in order to bring a stable and peaceful Middle East, we need that regime to be replaced. And it will be replaced. But I think the free world needs to understand that Iran is the main source of evil and terror in the world.
And just lastly here, you mentioned Iran. Obviously, there's a lot of talk amongst politicians in Canada and the U.S. Do you think countries here in North America understand, the threat of a country like Iran?
No. I think most people do not understand. You see, we're here in Ottawa right now, and looking around, everyone's peaceful here. We, in Israel, our neighbors are Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, ISIS, the worst terror groups in the world. If they succeed in this new method of terror, you're going to see the same terror here in the streets, and in London, and New York, and in Moscow, and in Paris. So we effectively are fighting the war against terror. We're not asking Canada to send troops or anything. We are asking for Canada to stand up with Israel.
Okay, we will leave it there. Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, thank you so much.
Thank you.